Welcome to episode something of the Jack Halford podcast. Today I have done things, and over the last week, stuff. Some of those things have been ordinary, and that's that. Today I'm drinking some Darling Grey, which is similar to that other type of grey tea. What's it called? Earl Grey. Darling Grey is made using sort of black tea and orange and lemon peel, whereas Earl Grey is bergamot orange oil. I like both. Citrusy. You never really need sugar with this type of tea, but with Tipi Assam I was on last week, I think a one sugar is good. But anyway, what have I been up to? I have decided to run a marathon in about 12 weeks after the half I did the other week, and signed up for the White Peak Marathon, which I think starts at a car park in Cromford on the outskirts of the peaks, and then it's on a bunch of trails. It sounds like it's got a lot of elevation because it's called the White Peak Trail, but in fact it's actually mostly flat because it is on just sort of flat trails mostly. The most elevation is actually going down, so it's not really called, is it called elevation? I don't bloody know, but I'm going to get some new trail shoes and run that in about 12 weeks. I've developed a new training program, and looking forward to that, very much so. Also started going to hot pod yoga. It's really good, and I've been to 4 classes now. I started with like nurturing flow or something. I've done that a couple of times, then foundation flow, and the last one I did was just called hot pod flow or in the flow or something like that, and that was a bit more difficult. Hot, really hot. Had a migraine during it and afterwards, and I felt really nauseous, but I can't blame that for it. It was because yesterday I did some weight training, shoulders and triceps, and then I went on a run, and then I went to hot pod yoga. So I think I really overexerted myself, but it's good to push yourself to the limits to see where that line is. So I'm glad I did it. And yeah, just be careful. If you're doing something like that, don't go into the hardest one first. Do what I did. Go to the sort of easiest one, get a feel for it, and then work your way up. That's the best way of doing it. With anything, running, anything. Yoga, weightlifting. Progressive overload. I even do progressive overload for tanning. You're supposed to sort of do, 20 minutes one day, the next day a little bit more. You're building your melatonin up so that you can have more sun exposure without getting sunburnt, without needing to have lots of sun lotion, sun cream. But I recommend wearing it anyway. Everything is progressive overload is the best way of doing everything. That's how you get better at stuff. A little bit more every time, or just the same amount every time, and you'll get better at it, A fascinating thing to think about. Been thinking about colour theory today. I made a colour triangle, and this triangle consists in the vertices, the sort of top and the 2 bottom corners of the triangle have the primary colours in, and then the sort of middle ones on the edges are called secondary colours, so mixtures of the 2 primaries. Yellow and red make orange, yellow and green make yellow, and blue make green, and then blue and red make purple. And then you take those secondary colours and you mixed one secondary colour and the other secondary colour and a primary in the corner to make a kind of black, purpley blue there, and then like a kind of a greeny thing there, and then like more of an orangey thing. It's great, and it's just sort of making me think about colour and how it interacts, and it's developing a system of colour for myself. So I'm learning from other people. I took that diagram out of the interactions of colour by Joseph Albers, and I've made my own version with my own colours. They're still the primaries, but they're my primaries. They're my acrylic paints. And then I'll do one with oils, do one with watercolours, so that I can see how all of the colours interact. I might change it up a bit, and just see what works. I've got to order some new colours anyway, because I really am trying to develop some really trippy looking things. But the best way to learn in art, in life, is to copy, to study other work that you like, to get better at it, to understand it, and then you become somewhat of an expert. I mean, I've studied painting for 3 years at university. I've been doing it for the last 10, coming up 12 years since I left college. All I've been doing is making pictures and painting and thinking about painting, and then having big breaks from painting, and then painting again. It just takes up a lot of my brain space. I'm constantly thinking about colours and how they interact and what they look like under different lighting conditions and so on. It is me. That's what I do. I've also made 2 different cakes over the last week. I made a beautiful sort of banana cake, banana bread, and then I made like it was supposed to be a Black Forest gatto, but it was just really just a chocolate cake because I didn't have any cherries, but it was still super moist because I made my own flour out of oats. Highly recommend trying that. If you use my coffee grinder, has another container you can put onto it to make flour or ground up nuts and things. And it's a really good flour to use because it's sort of really moist and you get like a brownie-like texture. I think if you're going to have sweet treats, it's nice to make them yourself. I've just been having some porridge, which is a brilliant snack. I always think, reach for the biscuit. No, reach for the oats and milk. Put a little bit of golden syrup in there. That will really fill you up. Just got a couple of nice bowls as well. I think I'm becoming old. I don't know, because I've always been into cookware because I love cooking. So it's like nice crockery, cutlery, and pans and stuff. Just really do it for me. I'm very interested in not just how food tastes, but how it looks, how it's presented. So even a simple bowl of porridge you can elevate if you put it into a really nice looking bowl with like a reactive glaze around the top. My plan is to get lots of sort of mismatching sort of crockery, but it will work because it will be similar sort of sizes and style, but sort of different colours. I like that way of sort of like a Mad Hatter sort of style crockery and sort of randomness, but there is an order to it. There's an order to the randomness. I really like that. I'd like to maybe incorporate all of the different senses in my art. So I've been thinking about developing my own sort of ceramic series for a while now. I've got some moulding plaster ready to sort of slip cast my own ceramics. I wanted to start with espresso cups because I really do enjoy coffee, and having a lovely lot of sort of really tactile thing like an espresso cup or a very small coffee cup is just something I really appreciate. It's nice to hold. That's why I like to go to a coffee shop. I like to sit in and to have a coffee out of one of their nice mugs. Even if it's just like a mug like this, they sort of still tend to have some kind of style to them. They've got like a nice typeface on them, and I just like to notice that, and just to really just be in the moment and to just enjoy every single part of the experience. When we go out to eat, it's not really about nutrition, it's about experiencing the art form of the culinary delight that we are experiencing. Yes. Even a simple cup of tea or coffee can bring a lot of joy to your life. And too many of us are just going and getting them to take away, and we're not really in the moment enjoying the thing and really experiencing it and tasting it. We are preoccupied with looking at our phones or doing something else. But what we should be doing is to really just enjoy this experience that we have. We're all going to die, so why not slurp on that thing and have a good taste and really sort of try to appreciate it. For there are people out there picking the leaves and drying them out on big stacks in the sun, and then they're sort of transported by someone else, aren't they? And then transported by someone else to somewhere where they're putting tea bags, and then they'll be transported somewhere else to put them in a box, transported somewhere else and then flown over here, and then transported to many different retail outlets for our grandmas to buy and transport to us in sort of wrapping paper for us to unwrap and transport to a mug to pour water over them to enjoy. And just think about the journey that a simple cheap tea bag has been on to get to where you are now. But it is just it's a crazy thing to think about how far all of the things in this room have travelled. It is mad. For instance, I've got this guitar next to me, you know, and the strings, they're not the... Oh, that's not tuned. The strings, they're not the original strings. They've been made somewhere different to the guitar itself. The guitar is years old. It's the first electric guitar I ever had. The capo on it is made somewhere else. I'm sure the printing on the wood and everything was done in a separate factory to the place where the wooden neck was made. It's just an incredible thing, isn't it? This is how things are manufactured and transported around the world. My girlfriend's recently been to Cuba and said to me that the people there aren't doing very well. It's not really a communist state. It is a communist state, they say it is, but it's a very corrupt one. It's more of a dictatorship where the people don't really get paid very much and struggle to find medication and have to really, have to have sort of scams and things going on for them to be able to survive. So you're getting nurses that are like charging $1 to citizens to get like a saline shot, like a placebo shot that says, and then they tell the sort of citizens, oh, this will help you get better, where it's not. They're just trying to sort of get a bit more money because everyone's paid like the same kind of $12 a month or something crazy like that. It's not very good. And the sort of the current regime is not very good for the citizens there. And then you have the resorts, which seem lovely and nice apparently, but she and her parents went around the actual country and stayed around people's houses and could see how people live, and ever so beautiful, but it was with that tinge of like, oh, this isn't quite right, is it? This isn't very nice. And apparently it's not to do with like trade embargoes and stuff. No, it's not. It is the corrupt government there that aren't treating the people fairly and are keeping it all for themselves. They export cigars for thousands of pounds a case to China, $4,000 for a case of cigars, and I don't think the people making them will ever see any of that. Not really. That's not fair. There's lots of that. There's lots of that all over the world. I mean, all workers are kind of exploited, but not to that extent in this country. There is sweatshops, though. There's sweatshops in Leicester. That was sort of uncovered, wasn't it, in recent history? And obviously in lower economically developed countries, of what we were told to call them in humanities or geography when I was at school. But a lot of people refer to them as third world countries, which a lot of people take offence to, especially the whole continent of Africa that people often mistake for one country. A lot of exploitation going on everywhere, and it's awful. So it's good to appreciate, that's what I was talking about, it's good to appreciate the things that we have and have gratitude. Just earlier on, I was in the ice bath, breathing in peace, gratitude, love, kindness, and breathing out hate, resentment, shit, ugliness. Just really trying to be in the moment, trying to calm myself down. I woke up with some rage, some hatred, some nastiness. I don't know why. Maybe it's just sort of a hangover from the migraine that I was suffering with last night. Pardon me. But yeah, so I had to get in there. I had to do things for myself, sort of these routines and rituals, so that I could get that out of me and I could feel good, so I don't make anyone else feel like rubbish or make myself feel worse. Because if you act on that, if you choose to be spiteful, then you're just going to become spiteful and feel spiteful, and it's not going to have a good effect. It's just going to have this domino effect, this effect that's going downwards. But I decided, no, not doing that. I went on a 7-mile run at my marathon pace, training for that, 12 weeks. Over the next, 10 weeks and 3 or 4 days now till it goes. I did that. Then I cooked a chili. And then I went to the studio and made that triangle. So from the ugliness and the spitefulness, I got out of my body. I sweated it out. Felt a lot better, energized. And we had a productive day, and now we're doing this. Whereas it could have went awful. I could, there's things that happened today, like on a roundabout, this woman just didn't look, and then started going, and I was like, okay, then, I could have crashed into her. Of course, I stopped and I just let her go. Whereas I could have made it into a big deal. I could have started hooting my hooter, my papping my horn, and doing a bit of shouting, but it's just not going to do anything but give you more dread and pain and awfulness in your heart, isn't it? So you just got to, go like, that's what you got to do, and choose not to make things into things. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. Use your energy for good things. For good things that are not just productive but enjoyable and entertaining, resting and smiles and laughter, productive and helpful, useful, and being entertained is a useful thing. It's going to help us to be able to cope with the day-to-day struggles that we have, and those struggles help us to enjoy the entertainment more, and everything helps each thing out. We go through highs and lows every single day. We are faced with problems, then we can choose how we react and respond to them, whether we respond or whether we react to them. There's a difference there. A reaction, a knee-jerk reaction, is like that, a fast, like nonsensical sort of but then you've got to practice the respond. You've got to practice that. So that's what I practice. I try to and that's difficult, especially for someone like me. Growing up, there was a lot of in my own head, and sometimes the people I'm around, for instance in the skate parks and things, you saw a lot of anger, young men with testosterone, you know, flipping their skateboards, and then you kind of copy that behaviour. I copied that behaviour a little bit, and you sort of look up to certain individuals at school, and you think, oh, they're cool, but then they're not cool. They're just being dickheads, you know. Maybe they've got ADHD, and they're not being treated fairly by the school. The school doesn't have the means to be able to help them properly, and so then they fall into this system that really isn't, you know, very good, and they could end up committing crimes and things because they don't see any other way of doing life. Whereas you could get good people. Well, I don't know. You just have to try to be understanding and have empathy, but not too much empathy. Too much empathy is a negative in my opinion, because when you have too much empathy, you can almost let people off. Whereas you shouldn't let people off. You should just say that this isn't the way to happiness. This isn't the way to the contentment and the way you really want to be. You know, you really want to be cool and chilled out and easy. You're going to feel a lot better, and it's something that just needs to be practiced. Maybe it should be a class at school. You know, keeping cool, not anger management. Anger management's fucking dumb. I think it's outdated. Anger management's a load of bollocks. We need to sort of teach mindfulness, but not wanky mindfulness, not wishy-washiness, you know. It needs to be like based on real situations, maybe. Like, this is a situation you could face. How would you deal with it? How would you feel? Or to go to them and say, what led up to this situation? And next time, how do you think you could respond? Maybe they will now think of this talk that they're having in this hypothetical when they're faced with that situation next time, and they might pause and they might start to act a little bit differently. Maybe they'll still have that same reaction, but hopefully that pause will get longer, and eventually they'll be able to sort of, I'm in control, you know, I'm in control. That's all they need. And then once they're in control, then they can start really getting ahead, you know, just make, you know, dream boards, goals, you know, what do they want to do? What do they want to be? That's what they need. And if you can get them thinking about that, and get them thinking about that, preoccupied with something, drawing, painting, printmaking, woodworking, gardening, something with the hands, something energetic, cycling, running, sports. Not necessarily team sports if they've got a rage, but that could be good too. And some of these things can instill discipline, like, you know, like boxing and stuff, because it gives you that routine and teaches you how to manage your emotions and then use them effectively and productively instead of self-destructively, you know. It's something we need to think. None of us are perfect. We're all imperfect. Remember that. We've all committed silliness in our lives, haven't we? Stupidness. Had those thoughts where we don't want to do nice things to people, you know. And we need to remember that, how bad we were, how bad we still are sometimes when we are faced with it. You know, sometimes it may be like looking into a mirror sometimes, a mirror into the past. We forget how we were, and we need to have empathy. Remember that people are younger. Remember that people are the same as us, are imperfect. Even if they're older. Exactly, because we do kind of regress as we get older. Our brains are rotting, dying and slowing down, and sometimes people say things and do things that don't necessarily mean anything by them, and we should have empathy and patience and love and kindness. And all of these words are very wishy-washy and wanky, but it's true. All right, yeah, all right. See, I didn't really feel like I had much momentum when I started this. I started just eating a bunch of porridge and having some chocolate, but I think what I'm saying is pretty good. So if you like what I'm saying, if you like it, then listen to it again, because I can't be asked to say much more than this. Thank you very much for listening, and listen next week. Sorry this one's late. I've been doing bits and bobs, you know, having fun, resting. So yeah, thank you very much. Goodbye. Have a lovely rest of your day, and enjoy life, savour life, slurp on the tea and the coffee, and just be grateful for the amazing technology that allows us to be able to have these things at the speed of light. We can have whatever we want, click of a button. It's so convenient, and someone's being exploited, and we need to remember that, be mindful of that, but at the same time, enjoy it. Enjoy the exploits of the poor and the needy. Thank you. Good night.